Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. It turns out they were all lying to you. The greasy cable show host, the self-righteous Obama administration hacks, the corrupt FBI leadership. There was no spying on the Trump campaign. That's what they told us again and again for over a year. That's what they're still telling us, even as they simultaneously admit that's what actually happened. That's what they did. That's how dumb they think you are, by the way. That's how much contempt they have for you. They don't even bother to make rational arguments anymore. They just bark louder and assume you will believe it. Today, disgraced bureaucrat Jim Comey claimed the FBI didn't really spy on the Trump campaign. He said they used, quote, confidential human sources, which, by the way, is what the FBI calls spies. As Comey put it, facts matter. Hilarious. But then Comey turned serious, or as serious as a buffoon can. Spying on the Trump campaign, he said, was, quote, tightly regulated and essential to protecting the country. Comey went on to point out that asking any questions about any of this will, quote, do lasting damage to America. In other words, hey, serfs, shut up and obey. We could go on and on, but you've been watching television lately. You know what lies they're telling. Joe Digenova is a former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. He joins us now. So the ironies in this, Jim Comey beginning a tweet with facts matter, are self-evident. But to the specifics, this spying, this use of confidential human sources, is tightly regulated. Did a judge sign off on this?
No, the judge did not sign on it, and a judge usually doesn't sign off on it. But what happened was this was not the traditional use of a source. This was the spying on the campaign of the opposing party of the incumbent president, who at the time was Barack Obama. What you're hearing from Clapper and Comey is gaslighting. This is Charles Boyer talking to Ingrid Bergman, trying to make her think all the things that she sees in front of her are not real. They are lying in a most unbelievably brazen and insidious way. If they were not spying on the Trump campaign, why didn't they just tell the Trump people, the Russians are coming after you, be careful? Because that's not what they were doing. They were spying on the Trump campaign, trying to frame people, set them up. That's what use of Mr. Stephen Halper, was to plant evidence so it would blow back so they could use it in FISA warrants. Comey and Clapper and Brennan are a group of psychotics who they can't stop lying.
What I'm interested in, among many things, is in the response from the left, the self-appointed civil libertarians who've been telling us for generations about protecting the rights of the individual against the state. I asked a member of this House Intel Committee, Eric Swalwell of California, the other night, who signed off on this? And he suggested that a judge knew about and approved this spying on the campaign. You're saying that's not true?
No. Well, the FISA surveillance was signed off by a judge, but not this intrusion into the campaign. This was done without judicial approval.
So why wouldn't we want to know more about how this happened, why it happened? There's no precedent for this that we know of. Why is this not a big deal in the eyes of liberals?
Because liberals are no longer liberals. They're progressives. They have given up on liberal ideas. They are now into the Woodrow Wilson format, where everybody is an enemy who isn't on your side. They hate Trump so much that they were willing to besmirch the Constitution to achieve a goal, which was his ultimate defeat at the ballot box, and if that didn't work, to have him removed from office.
I feel like I'm going crazy here because I'm reading these stories day after day that are denying what they're reporting.
Right.
So here's one just pulled out of a hat. Some guy called Justin Miller at Daily Beast just put this piece up. He refers to it, I'm quoting, the false claim that the FBI spied on the Trump campaign.
An informant is a spy. A confidential informant who weasels into any organization for good or ill is a spy. That is the classic definition of a spy. Indeed, James Clapper, while fumbling through his television appearances, has actually conceded that it was spying. But in his word, it was good spying.
So how could the President of the United States, who oversaw the FBI at the time, Barack Obama, not have known about that?
He did know about it because you remember that memorandum that Susan Rice wrote on Inauguration Day?
Yes.
Memorializing the meeting on January 5th.
Right.
On January 5th, the President, Biden, Yates, Rice, they were discussing exactly what we are finding out now, and they were trying to figure out a way to explain it because they knew since Hillary didn't win, now it was going to come out and they needed a story. Obama knew all about this, and the notion that he didn't is ludicrous.
It's shocking to me that nobody sees this as a terrifying precedent going forward, that one administration suspicious of its political opponents would use our most powerful law enforcement agency to gather information on them. Do we really want that to be the precedent?
We do not, and what's tragic about it is in the course of doing that, they have destroyed the FBI. It will take a generation for the FBI to return to the respect of the American people that it deserves. James Comey, who says he loves the FBI, has actually slit its throat.
It sure seems that way. But you know, Joe, facts matter, says Jim Comey.
They do.
A liar. Thank you. It's great to see you. Michael Caputo is a former Trump campaign advisor who's been sucked into the middle of all this, sat for interviews with Mueller's investigators not long ago, and he joins us tonight. So, Michael, you said recently in another interview that you became aware when you were working on the campaign during 2016 of another potential spy working on behalf of intel or law enforcement agencies controlled by Obama. Tell us what you know about that.
Well, I've discussed publicly for the last couple of days an early May approach to me by a former government contractor in the national security arena who, through an intermediary, tried to get to me and tell me that the NSA had Hillary Clinton's emails and that we could get a hold of them if we wanted them. And this conversation continued for a couple of weeks, and I eventually told them I had no interest because I thought they would be classified material. And as a former Army veteran who held a top-secret clearance, I knew that was fraught with peril.
And you believe that was, in effect, a trap designed to lure you into compromising the Trump campaign in some way?
I'll tell you what, Tucker, for 2 years I didn't know what it was. I gave the information to the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, and the Mueller investigators when I sat with them 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and they didn't seem the least bit interested. I didn't know what to think of it. 2 years, I scratched my head. The intermediary, who's an old friend of mine, we talked about it over dinner dozens of times. We couldn't figure out what it was. And then the news came out about the spy latching on to the members of the Trump Campaign Policy Committee, and a light bulb turned on over my head, and I realized if this wasn't a dangle of some sort from the whatever FBI and whatever, this was strange enough where I needed to bring it to the public. I knew the investigators weren't interested. They didn't even take notes when I told them about it. I thought I should bring it to the public. Now,
may I stop you there really quick? I'm confused by that.
Sure.
So that's pretty close to the heart of the topic that Mueller is purportedly investigating and consuming all of this money and all of our attention investigating. Why would they not be interested in hearing more about that?
Right. I mean, if the U.S. government had Hillary's emails in early May when this government contractor was telling us we could get them, then... why aren't they interested? I got to tell you, that's what really set off a red flag for me, because they just didn't seem the least bit interested at all. They didn't even take notes. I offered them the timeline I was reading from in my interview, and they didn't take it.
That's just absolutely remarkable. We've been following your personal story for a number of months now, and you got sucked into this, I think, and it's turned your life upside down. Do you expect to have more contact with Mueller's investigators?
Well, I brought this to the public just last couple of days, and there's another approach to me that was done in late May, or the last half of May, by somebody who I believe was organized by the investigators. I can't talk about it on television because I think, the Mueller team wanted to talk about it a lot, so much that I think they sounded like the authors of it. I want to talk about that with the DOJ Office of Inspector General. Now that I know that they're responding to the president positively and they're looking into these dangles in front of the Trump campaign, I want to talk about both of them. The one I talked about in public, the former national security government contractor who came to me through an intermediary in the first week of May, and this other approach that happened in the last half of May. My attorney is writing a letter to the Office of the Inspector General asking to be invited to testify on this.
Well, I hope you will be, because unlike Mueller's investigators, I am interested. Michael, thank you. Great to see
you.
you.
I'll tell you, Tucker, you see these FBI agents that want to go in as well.
Yeah.
They're asking for subpoenas so that they go in and talk to the IG about what they saw sitting in the office at the FBI. There are a lot of great men and women who are line agents at the FBI who want to talk, and I want them to know if they're watching, they don't have to wait for a subpoena, because I know those legal fees are really expensive. Our legal fund at CaputoLegalFund.com, we'll pay their legal fees.
Well, good
if
for
they
you.
go to the Inspector General.
Because
if they
they're
go to
the
the Inspector
ones...
General and reveal what happened, we'll pay their legal fees.
Well, and their work has been besmirched. There are a lot of decent FBI agents, many of them, and they must be the maddest
Most
of all.
of them.
Most of them. Michael, thank you.
Thank you.